How do I detail a cantilever slab, especially knowing how to make a return, the suitable length for each return? Now, I get this question all the time, and today we'll be looking at how we can detail a cantilever slab and how we're going to provide a suitable return to this beam. My name is STADAS, and I'm your instructor. Now, to answer that question, let's use this plan to answer that question. Now, this is a structural plan that is being exported from the proto structure, you know, templates. Okay, in your own situation, maybe if you have different structural analysis software, maybe you have the likes of the Revit, you have the likes of the SAP and etabs, you have any program. So what you've done is just to bring out the plan or any type of plan that you have, then you just have to what to start producing your slab. Okay, so looking at that now, using this plan, first of all, let's you look at the Stonebridge template. Let's use the Stonebridge template to answer this question. So what is a Stonebridge template? This is a template by which we have, or that is designed, detail wise, for you to carry out your detailed drawings. It helps you to save times and the cost of time for you to what save your drawing. So right then, let's just go to the Stonebridge template. So for you to get that, now I'll go on my desktop because I have it already. I will locate it where I've already saved it. I have the product. You can see the Stonebridge template 2023. Now, if you don't have the Stonebridge 2023, there's a link under this video whereby you can go to our store and get it. All right. So when you get that, you come to the word. When you click on the Stonebridge template, you locate the template here. Okay, because we have every other files in it when you get the template. So when you get there, you look at this other one. You can see this other one now is the one you're going to use. Then you right click on it. So when you right click on it, you're going to wait. You're going to see an interface will just pop up. The interface will have variations by which you can choose from, because this is designed from different detailed drawing. Okay, you can see over here we have what building on pad. We have different detailed drawings here. You can see when you want to detail, if maybe you have a model detail with a pad foundation, you can use this. If you have a drawing with a rips foundation, you can use this. If you have a drawing with your beam raft, if I have a beam raft foundation, there's a raft foundation. There's a type of raft foundation called a beam raft foundation, so you can use this. It's usually with the raft and the slab. Okay, you can use this. And we have the slab raft. Maybe I just have a flat foundation. Okay, just a raft slab. Okay, to carry the structure, you know of which the axial load is upon it. So you can use this. So over here we'll have the building on pile. We have a pile on it. If you want to do that, fine. Then we'll have here with the strap. A strap is it's a design such where we have the pile and a beam tied to it. Okay, that's where you see the strap beam. So you can click any of this. So in today's video, since we are just looking at a basic design, and mind you, all of these have, when it comes to this, all this, if you look at them, because they note this 2023 model, we have the 2024 and every other one. So 2023, if you look at what we have here, we have all these details based on the foundation. So every other component, the column, the slab, and every other one maintains the same um, detail, okay, for all of this. So the exception is just the pad foundation. That's why they tell you, okay, if you have different type of foundation, you can move this, because the same template you have here, look, is applicable to all of this except from the foundation. That's why the foundation is designed this way. So this is the Stonebridge template. So if you want to get this drawing, it's going to help you to ease your job. So if you want to do that, there's a link on the video. You click and go to the store and you can get this. And there are other software if you wish you want to do, even including the project structure. Okay, the project structure 2025, 2024, we have it. We have every other drawing too in the store by which you are going to do what you're going to get to buy, because some of the other templates we'll be using, when we'll be using it, we just want to maintain a culture such that as I'm working, you can go back and use that same plan to model your own, so that we can see what we arrive together. So if we arrive together, then I'm going to put that on the comment section and say, okay, you got it right. Okay, so let's move on. So please, before we go on, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the channel, share your comment. We want to see your own review, your thought about the detailing. If you have a better view, feel free to share with us. Okay, comment and like. Thanks. Okay, now so let's go. So since we are keeping it very simple, we just have to click on the pad foundation. So just click the pad foundation. So if you click the pad foundation, I'm going to wait for it to open. Any of it you choose is far better. Okay, so if you click, once it's trying to load right now, So when it loads, it's going to open an AutoCAD template drawing that already exists inside, okay, which we are going to use to draw. So what we need to do, just have to use the template. But there's an advantage here. Once you open that particular detailed template, every other drawing you copy from the one you've already exported from Prota Structure down here, what is going to happen? It's going to what? Once you copy it and paste over here, it's going to give us a different view. So now you can see what we'll have over here. We'll have a different template that already exists here. You can see different drawings that already exist with a pad footing. You can see we have here, we have how you're going to detail your strip. We have a wall line, and we'll have the column inserted, and we'll have the strip. The strip is this other one that is a bit offset, by which this is a wall line, for your column, and the column base footing, details. You can see what we have here, and we'll have the column, we have every other beams, we have slab. So what we just need to do here, we have to look at how this slab is being detailed, then we'll marry it to what we have or what we are about to do. And you can see the beam. So if you want to learn how you can put your beam details, how you can make sure that you have a very good, nice section in your beam, you can just get this template, then you copy your beam and you paste over here, then you can work with it. You can see how simple and how neat this beam is. And as well, you can also use this template too, as the case may be. All right, you can see we'll have even the staircase detail in this. So if you want to learn how to detail your staircase, it's very, very good that you have different other templates, you can see, but all of these are all on powered foundation. So let's go for what we have today. So here we'll just move over here. You can see a dashboard here. So we're going to copy our own drawing and we're going to paste it over here. And when we paste it, it's going to see that it's going to change from what we have from our initial design. Okay, so here now, if we move down here to our AutoCAD, so we have our AutoCAD here to be drawing one. Have our drawing one. Mind you, we're just going to be using one of this. Now we'll have this drawing over here. We'll have the second and we'll have the third. So we'll just use one. Okay, because we're going to have this lab, and this is going to be the roof. That's why you see we'll have the drawing label over here. We have the text, the slab label, and here we'll have void. Okay, you can see the slab label here and over here. So the slab says we should use what? 200 thickness slab. Okay, so if I have 200 thickness slab, so what do? We have to copy this. I want to copy the whole of this out. All right, so I'll click this. I will highlight the one I want to take out. Okay, I've highlighted the one I want to take out. Then I'm going to do what? I'm going to copy. You can right click and go to clipboard, and you say what? Copy. So when you copy, you locate the other drawing. Okay, you locate the other drawing interface on the Stonebridge. So now we'll move to the Stonebridge template, waiting for it to load. So now we'll have the Stonebridge template load. So we're going to what? Control V or paste. Because we want to paste that drawing that we'll just copy into this particular drawing. All right, we're taking it from the drawing one down to this other spot. So you can see I've pasted there, and I'm zooming. I'm going to see the drawing. Okay, you can see now me having this, you can see the color, because the color here is yellow, but that does not mean that you have to keep yellow. If you still want to play with your color, you can still do that to play with your color. All right, but in this scenario now, I'm going to change this color to hash. I just want to change it to hash. Okay, so I'm going to click all of these and I'm going to change it to hash. That's the first step I'm going to do over here. So if I click all of this, then I'm now going to go over to color. I'm going to change the color. I want to be hash color. You can see now this is now very, very viewable and accessible. So I'm going to move this out. I think there's an issue over there, so let's repeat the process again. I'm going to move this out. Click on this. I'm going to move this out, and same thing here. I'm going to move this too. Going to move that. So after doing that, you can see this plan now is free. Okay, so this is the plan we want to be working on. Right, this is the plan we want to be doing our detailing on. So what we need to do, I have to take off this label because we don't need it. Okay, but before we do that, please always have to copy them so that you can always come back to it if there's any omission, or if there's anything you delete, or if there's anything you just want to check. So you can see we already copied this. Then for me not to get confused, I just have to use drawing to block this so that I will know that this is a different one. Okay, so this will be different. So each time I come here, I know that this is what I'm working on, not this. So about this, well, let's just delete all the grid, because for now I don't need the grid. Okay, I can always come after I might have finished detailing, I can come over here and copy the grid, but for now let me just take off the grid. Since I'm just starting, let's just take off the grid. Now since we've taken off the grid, now you can see the slab label and the slab edge line. So now I want to take off the slab edge line, including the drawing. You can see there's some ghost grid over here, so let's take off those ghost grid, and we'll have this at the staircase joint. So let me just put this, you can see the staircase joint. So over here, let's also do the same thing. I'm going to get a line, because first approach, now you can look at, we have a slab there. So let's try to what, to delete all the text. So let me just right click, and I will highlight them. Then I go to quick select. I will right click, then I go to what, quick select. I click on quick select, because I know the name, the layer of which what I want to let's say, okay, the column label. I don't need the column label. So let me pick up the column label. You can see when you use your quick select, the quick select is going to pick up a particular layer that you identify, that you said you should also what, select. So after selecting it, we can now what, erase by clicking enter. We'll do the same thing to the beam and to the slab at the same vein, and we'll also delete the edge line. Okay, so go to layer. Now go back to what, value, click on value, and you scroll up or down. So you can come over here, you see what, we have the beam label, beam size label. Let's click on beam size label. Okay, we don't have any beam size label here. Okay, this is the beam label. Okay, let's go to beam label direct. We'll repeat the same process by clicking, highlighting all of them, right click, and we'll click on layer, and we'll go to value, and so what, beam size label. We have a beam label. So let's go direct to beam label, and we'll say okay. It's going to click the beam label, we'll press enter, and do erase. So check the next one. What's the tab? We can see here we have what, slab label, and this one now is for the what, slab edge line over here. So we want to take that off. So we'll just come over here, and we'll say where, we'll go back to quick select, repeating the same process. So let's say slab line, slab edge line. Where do we have slab edge line? Yes, this is it. So click on it, say okay. So I erase it, but mind you, because this is also slab edge line, okay, I don't want to delete this. That's why I didn't highlight this. I only highlight this whole area, and I turn this down, because this is what, this is a slab cantilever out. All right, because we want to use to answer the question how we can get the length, and how we can detail the cantilever slab, what will be the required length for the slab. All right, so in this video we're going to expose that. So we just have to take that out. All of this we are doing is just to prepare the particular drawing, okay, for you to be ready for the detailing, okay, for you to be ready, for you to be able to detail. Okay, so here is what, slab, no, it should be slab level, for you to be able to what, don't forget the slab, what, in the slab level we have the slab height to be what, 200 millimeter. All right, this is 200 millimeter. Okay, for those that are very familiar with cm, it is 20 cm. Okay, but this is 200 millimeter, or 0.2 meter. All right, so that's it. So we just have to erase this. So you can see the plan now. This is what you now detail. After you might have detailed this, you can now go what, come over here and pick it. You can see what we did here. We have a mistake by clicking. We have a line over here along the slab, okay, but there's a mistake we've done by what, erasing that line. Okay, I did it purposefully, so that I'm going to show you why it's good for you to always what, copy out your plan. All right, so that's by the way. If possible, if you want to keep that grid, this particular grid, you can still keep it, but for now we'll just keep it, so that when we are bringing back this old grid, we can bring it back. So what do I need to do? I have to copy it. When I copy, I'm going to take a point as my reference. So in this case, I want to take this edge to be my reference, such that if I click on that edge over here, I'm going to click on the same edge over here, since they are what, the same drawing. If I click that, you can see the line is placed, rightfully placed over there. So the next thing after doing this, we have to look, the next thing you need to do is to locate the void. Okay, you have to search for where do we have the void along here, because you can't just detail the slab, because there's a space for what, access. All right, that access is the staircase. we have the place where we have the staircase. In some case where you have the staircase outside, then you're going to point out an arrow indicating that there is a staircase outside there, or you introduce a continuation bar along that area telling them there is a staircase along there. So here when we have the internal staircase, so we just have to create a void. Okay, we have to create a void over here because the staircase is going to be detailed in here. All right, so in this situation, or we can also put a staircase sign over here, but in this I just have to keep a void sign over there. So click here, I will zoom down to this spot. I will come over here, I will click on X. So in every area where you see your drawing X this way, where you see your drawing in this sign, know that that particular area is what is void. Okay, that particular situation is void. So after getting this is now ready. We'll have a slab here and we'll have over here. All right, so in doing that, it's as simple as so this is the first approach. We have to look at how we're going to detail our slab. So how do we now do that? Before we continue, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. All right, okay, so for you to do that, what we need to do is just have to what to mat, because we want to introduce our matting. Okay, we're going to mat the whole of this place because we're assuming that this is going to be what in a two-way slab. If you look at the whole panel, they're all what in two-way slab panel, forgetting what we have here, that this is a one-way. We're going to just have to do what a general matting. So when you're doing a general matting, we have what we call the main and the distribution. Okay, when you want to do your matting, so the main is a shorter length while the distribution is the longer length. Okay, so irrespective of that, let's say we are assuming only this panel that we're going to do it. Let's say we have the slab to do this panel, then this shorter panel, this shorter span is going to be our main. Okay, and the longer span that is along this line is going to be our distribution, meaning that we're going to lay this on site first before we're not going to cross it with this. All right, which means this will be at the bottom, and this will be the what bottom top, which means this is going to be crossing this, for the mat. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over here, because if you look at this panel and we'll look at this panel, we're going to take a symmetric um system to do that. So in this panel, consider this is the shorter side and this is the longer side. All right, so we're going to take this to be our distribution and this to be our main about this region, and including this region too, because this side is long. Okay, we're just going to adopt that. Okay, so we're just going to look at that, but in this situation you have to look at this because the beam has already changed. So in this situation now, you can see that this is now the longer panel and this is the shorter panel. Okay, this is the shorter panel and this is the longer panel. So what we are going to detail here is going to be it's going to be different from what you're going to do when you're doing your call out label, when you're carrying out your call out label. Are we together? So please, if you don't understand that, feel free to email me or send a message. Then I'm going to reply you on that. Or you can go back and watch the video and look at how we'll be doing this. So first of all, I'll just have to click on the line. Sorry, before I click on that line, you can see the layer here because we are drawing with what layer. You can see the layer what is called what call out line. So now I'm going to what get a rebar. Okay, so I'm going to have a rebar. So I'm going to go to what arrow. Just going to type arrow and I'm going to look at the rebar. So if you look at the rebar over here, so let's just say let's pick this rebar. Okay, let's pick that rebar and let's use it for our detailing. So when we're doing the rebar, let's change the color of this layer to be blue color. Okay, so we'll be using it. All right, and let's also change this layer to what will be a little bit increase for the sake of this video. Okay, but when you're doing a real life situation, just leave it the way it is because this template has already been programmed for efficient drawing. But I just want to do this so that when I was doing for the purpose of visuality display, it's going to be what very very good on your screen. Okay, so that's by the way. So after doing this, what we need to do is what we have to go I have to click on the line. So I want to click on the line. First of all, click on the line, then I'm now going to what consider my concrete cover. Consider my concrete cover. So in this case, I will consider a concrete cover of 30. All right, so let me just place concrete cover particular part, then I'm going to on my auto and I'm going to take it down to this spot. Okay, go to click the same thing. Then after this, we're going to create a return. Mind you, what we'll have here, we'll have the slab text, we'll have the slab height of a what have a slab height of what? Slab depth of what? 200 millimeters. So in 200 millimeter, we're looking at our concrete cover of, if we have a concrete cover of 30 at the top and 30 at the bottom, all right? So 30, 30, that is what? 30 plus 30, we're going to add, that's 60, all right? So 60 minus 200. So what we're going to be having, we're going to be having 140. So we're going to type 140 here. Then we're going to what? Click enter. Then after that, we're going to move over here to create our return, right? So now we'll do the same thing over here. We'll click here with line. We're using line to do this. We'll click on what? 140. Okay. How do we get the 140? After taking out our concrete cover from the top and from the bottom. So click over here. Then we've done this. So after this, from this particular point, we'll have our returning distance. Have our return distance. That is return distance is what? Is 30. It's usually the 20% is always 25% of the particular span. Let's say we'll have this particular span. You can do it in two approach. Okay. Click over here and we'll come down here. We'll click. So we're taking, this is 4 meter. 4 meter 1 milli. So if we have this very, very well, if you divide this by, if you multiply this by, if you multiply this by the percentage, 25% of this, that will be the length of this particular slab. But in general, no matter what you have, okay, no matter what you have, it should not be more than what? It should not be less than 600. It should not be less than 600 for effective spanning. So let's go to our calculator. I'm going to press Ctrl 8 to pop up the calculator in this AutoCAD. You're going to see the calculator out here. So now this is my calculator. So let me move it to one side. Okay. So I have the calculator here. So I'm going to check 4001 times 20%. So 20% is 0.5. Okay. That is 20% of that. So if we click OK, what do we have? We have 1 meter. So it means that we are going to extend here 1 meter. I'm going to extend here from this particular beam 1 meter from our return. Okay. It should be 1 meter. Or what you need to do, if you don't do that, you're going to do what? You're going to divide each span divided by 4. Okay. So you can also do the same approach. You can say 4001 divided by what? Divided by 4. You're going to have the same result. Okay. But if you're using, but this is strictly for people designing for Euro code. But if it's a British code, your British code says you should do what? You should design for 30%. So 30% of this, let's just cross check that. Suppose you are designing with what? Your British code. 30% is 0.3. So 30%, 0.3. So if you look at it, says 1.2. Okay. So this is saying 1.2. So if you're designing with Euro code, with BS code, then this is what should be your length. But since we are considering the Euro code, then we are going to do what? We are going to design with what? 1 meter. But I said in all you're doing, it should not be less than what? It should not be less than 600. So from here now, we're just going to click on this. Then we're going to come here, click here, and then I'm going to project it out. I'm going to type 100. 1 meter, sorry, 1000. So when I type 1000, I click enter. It's going to extend. There's AutoCAD for you. So you're going to click it and extend, click on that point, drag it out to the side you want. You type the dimension you want, you click enter. It's going to extend it out. So this is how this should be detailed. Okay. Right. But irrespective of this, if you want to go regarding this, it should not be less than 600. But this is very, very perfect. Okay. So let's do the same thing to all of them. So the same policy goes in the joint, even the same when you're doing your top bar length, this same percent also is applicable to it. Okay, when you're doing your top bar, you have to take you look at this span. The top bar length for this side should be what? Should be 25% of this particular length should be the extension length for the top bar. The same thing to this other side. So all these are just the extension length should be what? Should be what? 30 or 25% from it. So about this, what we need to do here now, just have to copy this because I want to save time. Okay, I have to, when I do one, I'm going to copy and paste the rest. So that I'm going to do what? Save extension. So if we come over here, I'm going to click here and I'm going to explain why I'm extending it like this. Okay, now about this section, we're going to take this over here. Since we have done with our calculator, so we can now close the calculator. So we'll have a very uh, successful view. All right, so here we'll do the same thing here, and over here you can see we'll have different shape here. So from the shape we're going to put it, mind you, we are putting all of this, so it's going to be in the beam. It's going to be what? Inside the beam. Okay, it's going to be inside the beam, not at the face of this beam. This anchor need to anchor inside the beam and have a return. The same thing to this other side. So you can see what we have here. Now here is what we have, a void here. I mean, we have a staircase void here. So having a staircase void over here, we just have to look at terminating it here, because this is a return, because this is the end point. Okay, this is the end point. In the situation whereby you are having here now we have a continuation here, we have a continuation over here at the down at this spot too. We are having a continuation here. If you look very well, we're having a continuation here, we're having a continuation over here too. Okay, so in that spot where you have a continuation, you have to continue the reinforcement. So I will click this and I'm going to stretch it over to this area. So here now I just want to, since I'm going to have a lapping, now I'm going to introduce a lapping, and a lapping you're looking at 50 times D. All right, I look at 50 times D for your compression, for your tension zone, and your compression zone you can look at 40 times D. But in all of that, let's be safe, we're just going to maintain a similar lap length to what? 50 times the diameter. So it means if we are designing, let's say in this situation whereby we are looking at Y12 reinforcement, okay, if I was looking at Y12 reinforcement to detail this slab, they're going to say 12 times 50. So 12 times 50, 12 times 50 is 600 millimeter. All right, so 600 millimeter will be the lap length if we are using 12 mm. But if we are using 16 mm, we're going to do 16 times 50. So 16 times 50 is going to give us 800. So as the case may be, if you're doing 20, maybe you're considering 20 mm reinforcement. 20 mm reinforcement multiplied by 50 is going to give us 1 meter. Okay, so in all of that, you have to consider that lap length. Okay, so in this situation, but what I normally do from experience, okay, when I have a beam like this, in the bottom reinforcement I always lap it at the joint here. Okay, at the top I always lap it at the middle span. Why? Because at this particular area, at the middle span, the tension is high along the bottom. Okay, high along the bottom, and not and considerable along the joint, but at the top is high. We have a high tension along the what? The top area, and less in the bottom. So for me to do that now, I just have to do my lapping inside the beam here. Okay, so if we are doing our flat slab detailing, we also tell you the process and what you are supposed to do in a flat slab detailing. But since this is a solid slab detailing, so we have to consider this to be a solid slab detailing. We have a solid slab, we have a wrist slab, waffle slab, we have a flat slab, we have different types of slab. So in all of them, you have to have, they have different consideration for you to be what? To lap them, and what you need to do. You don't just say, okay, because you have a beam reinforcement on site, you just have to consider, you don't want off cut, I just want to do it. Sometimes you have to consider off cut, and sometimes you have to look at what is more critical, because stability is your priority. All right, a good design should be your priority. So when we have this from experience, from this beam, I'm going to take this down to this beam and I'm going to extend 30 out. That is 300 millimeter out. So I'm going to extend 300 millimeter out from it. So I'm going to click enter. So the same thing over here, I'm going to take this one, two down to the beam, and I'm going to extend 300 millimeter. I'm going to click enter. So if I measure this, if I measure from this point down to this point, you can see that I have above, for this 12 reinforcement that we are detailing, I have above what? 600, because it's supposed to be 12 times 50, which is what? 600. But in this situation I'm having 825. So this is perfect. I want to keep it this way. That extra reinforcement will cost me no harm. All right, will do no harm. So this is perfect. So if you are considering, maybe you have a 12 y12 y20 and you want to do 1 meter, and you are having this, so you don't need to consider 300 300. You can go with 500 500, or 300 300, as the case may be. Just as much as you know what you're doing, the role still plays. So over here we're going to still consider, we are going to extend this, because you can see we have a termination point at this level. So we're going to end it, so that we're going to bring this guy here, because we have a return over here. But right here we are having an extension into this slab. So I'm going to extend here whereas I will now consider my 300 millimeter both right and the side. So I extend it down to here. I consider my 300, enter. I come over here, I extend it to, you click on it, you drag 300. So that's by the way. So with this, you don't even need to be measuring to check if they are okay or not. Okay, you just have to extend 300 this way, 300 this way. It's perfect, right? Or you can extend 200 this way, 200 this way if you want to get a perfect 60. So you are going to have 60 and a little fractions. Okay, so that's by the way. But I just want to keep this safe by clicking this way. So you can see in this area now, I create my lapping along this beam, and over here, because of this shorter span, and I want this panel to run from this beam here down to this other beam. That's why I need to do what? That's why I need to position it along this one. I want to support it here, not naturally supporting it here. Okay, or I can extend this to support it over here. Take note of all those things. To support the lapping, the positioning is very, very important. Okay, that's why we are bringing this video to you. Okay, and I want you to keep on watching and keep on subscribing and following up for more video. All right, so having this, you can see that we've almost finished for this section. So we're going to click this and we're going to move it down, to this panel. So now we've done with the horizontal part, because this is going to run all through this area, and this is also going to run all through this other area. Okay, all through this other area. This is going to run this span, and it's going to run over here because there's a free end over here. All right, so that is by the way. Okay, so we also look at, now we're not going to look at the vertical side. Okay, we're going to look at the vertical, because now I want to place the vertical reinforcement. So for you to place the vertical reinforcement, before we do that, let's just place the runner so that we'll know how this is run, because I don't want this to get confused. I want this to be very, very straightforward. Okay, so let's go back to what our slab. This is the more reason why we have the template. So you're now going to copy, let's copy one of this slab that we have, so that we'll be doing what? We'll be doing our comparison like with it. Okay, so we'll copy. And mind you, before you begin to be able to do this, you have to do what? You have to learn AutoCAD. You have to be very, very free with AutoCAD, not just having the full knowledge of the software, the printer structure or a design software. We have to understand how to use AutoCAD drawings very, very well. Okay, so that's by the way. So now, what we're going to do next is just going to, let's click on this line, this label. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on this. So let's copy it out. I want to copy some properties from here, so I can use it to do what? To do my detailing. I'm going to place them here. Then I'm going to come over here, click it, and I'll move or copy. Let's copy rather. While we copy, let's check. So we're just trying to click, just follow the procedure. You can see we're just trying to click to show us how these beams are going to be run, how these rebars are going to be what to be run. So let's move this out. Let's move this out. We're going to move it down to this place. We're going to on auto. I will make sure that we'll keep it simple plain. We'll click on this, and we're going to move this also too. We're going to move this down. Move. Click on move. I'm going to make it. Telling you that it's going to start from this point and it's going to extend down. Alright. You can see this particular slab. So Let's move this also. Click on this. I'll highlight here. So after doing this, you can see this is trying to tell you that this particular reinforcement is going to run from this point down to this point. Okay, so there should be indications. Okay, for every thing you're doing here, you're going to move this down. Then after which you are going to edit the numbers of reinforcement that is suitable for it. This is one reason why we need the AutoCAD template. Okay, it's very important that you get it. It's going to help you, especially as a beginner, or if you want to go advanced in your design. It gives you a very right presentation and uh, what to work on. Okay, so we have this. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to move this one back. I'm going to move this back to this point. I'll move this to the middle. I'm also going to move this. When I move, you can click M, enter. So when you do that, you're going to what? You're going to click. So we'll click this on this. I'm going to take it back to this spot. And mind you, I don't like the same lines moving all through. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this. I'll click on this line and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut that line. So this line has to be what? This line has to be what? Different. And this one has to be what? Different. This one has to be what? 0. Let me put it at 0, 0. At 0. Okay. Put it at 0. So with that, or we can put it as blue so that it will be transparent so we can see it. Let's put it as blue. So this will be blue to blue and this is a gray. That's nice. So you can see that's the more reason. This is the same thing. We're going to carry out the same thing here. We're going to push it back down. Going to push this down. Move. Going to move it down. So after moving it down, sorry, extend. We're going to extend. After extending, now we don't need this. Okay, we don't need this. We're going to click that out. So because don't forget, well, we just copy this out and we're just pasting it. That's why we have to re-edit it. All right, have to re-edit them before we move them. So we'll do the same thing over here too. We're going to copy this. Let me do what? Match property. So if I match property to this guy and also match property to this other guy, so these are all one. So I'll copy it down here and I'll copy from this beam. It's going to move down. I'm going to copy it down to this spot. Then let's move this a bit closer. Let's move this a bit closer. Yes, you can see what we have here. And this, let's take this back. Let's take this back. Okay, we'll have a blue there. We'll have similar design here. We'll have this. Let's push. So you can see that this is the call out line and this is the label line. Okay, the span line. Want to create, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create a different color. You can see this is the reinforcement. Now this is the call out line. This is the call out line, and this is the what, the span line. So the difference between the span line, I want to make it the same color with the reinforcement, and I'm going to have this to be what, to be the space are telling that this particular reinforcement is going to run throughout this span and only at this span, but this is telling you that this is running only at this span, right? And this other one is trying to tell us that this particular reinforcement is going to run within this span, and it's going to run within this panel too. It's going to run this panel and inside this panel, so the whole of this area. So we'll have the same thing, you know. So what we've just done here, we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, what we've just done here, we're going to move the same thing. So as simple as that, we just have to copy and we're going to paste. So here we'll just copy this, copy, and let's paste. Okay, I don't want to paste here because I'm going to have a top bar over there, so I don't want to paste it that close. So here now I'm going to do the same thing over here. We're going to right click, we'll copy this, copy the whole of these actions, everything existing here, we're going to copy it out. Let's see, we'll have the label remaining. So click on the label and you right click and you say cut, copy. So when we copy and we'll put it over here. No, 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 no way. Let's drop it over here. Let's drop it over here. Then the last one we're going to do, we're going to copy this other one. So that's by the way. So we have to copy this. Okay. So after that, we'll move down to this spot. Okay. So when we move, if you look at what we have here, this particular guy runs only this area. It's not supposed to run in here, right? It's not going to run in here. So what we're going to do, we have to terminate. Have to terminate is run. So this other one can also continue. So we're going to move this. We're going to move it over there, right? So this one now has to be moved up. I have to move this up. Then after that, I'm going to explain why we are doing this, why we have to move it up. All right. I'm going to make explanation on that. Just a while. Let me just fix it and get it right. All right. So if you look at what we have here now, it's going to, since this return, since here is an endpoint, since an endpoint, we don't have any slab here. This bar, this reinforcement is meant to what? It's meant to return. Okay, it's meant to what? To return. Forget the fact that I have this particular panel. It's as if I'm using the same return. As if I'm using the same return length to what? To do this other one. Like this particular panel is also higher, so I'm supposed to use the return length for this panel. Fine. If you understand the principle, you can go with it. But all I'm saying is it should not be less than 600. So in as much as not less than that, it means that you are still okay. All right. So that's by the way. So I know somebody might be forced to ask such question. Okay. So you can see we have it placed here. So I have to delete this. Or let's not delete it. Let's keep it down. We're going to move it over this point. Just move from this point down to this zone. And after that, let's move this one up. This is going to be up. I'm going to have this. Click on this. I'm going to have this at this point. So that was going to be at the longest point. That just means that what we're supposed to understand here is just that we have this return to created here. It's going to move from this way because you see the distance here. this can also move in here, okay? Because this particular reinforcement is going to terminate along the void. So everywhere we have the void, that is where it's supposed to what? To terminate. Just as this guy terminates, just as this other reinforcement move from this point down to this point. Same to this other one in this other hand. It's just a mirror, alright? On both sides. The same thing happening here, the same thing happening here, from this point down to this point. So there's an extension over here, which this guy is lapping over. So there's a space over here. Okay, so we are going to say that let's use this rebar to also replace what we have here. Otherwise, we are going to copy this and we'll paste over here to run that particular region. All right, so I just want it to run along this span and also run along this span. So what we just need to do, I have to create a break there. So click create a break. By you click on break, you click on it, you come at one point, you click, you repeat the same procedure by clicking enter, you click on the beam and you go to the next one and you click. Then we can go to the blue line, we'll copy the blue line, we'll match property because we want to match the blue down to this particular one. Okay, because this is a span line and this is the call out line. Please, the blue is a span line and this is the call out line. The span line in the sense that it's telling you that this particular reinforcement is running along this span. Then the call out line is now telling you details about the particular one, telling you that okay, we have this reinforcement running from this line to this line, and look at the details that has to be followed. All right. So that's just by the way. So that's what we have there. So now you can see we are almost done with the horizontal the horizontal rebars. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now, we have to do what? We have to introduce the vertical. After introduce the vertical, we now look at placing the top reinforcement. So we just need to take the same approach in doing that. The same approach we have here is the same thing we're just going to be doing what? To indicate on the top, right? So you can see we have fully detailed here. So let's move this down. We're going to create move by clicking enter, click on the point, we'll push it down. Okay, so we're going to create it down to the bubble just like what we have over here. So we're doing the same thing, no difference between them. Okay, since this is a single span, I have to take this out. I have to delete this since it's a single span. But when we have a continuation span, continuous span, then I have to what? Introduce the numbers and quantity of these reinforcements. Just same as this, we are going to introduce the quantity for that area. Okay, so here we have to copy this so that we can introduce it at this point. Okay, you can denote how many reinforcement is here and how many is running within this span. Okay, so that is okay. So after doing this, we just have to go back to the what? To the top, to the vertical rebars. Okay, so having the same layer intact, the rebar layer here, because here we didn't change it, we just have to copy from what we have in the Stonebridge template, and we use the what to do our detail, all right, our slab detail in here. So what we need to do, go back to the line, you click on line and we'll look at the vertical area. Now if you look at this point now, you can see we have a termination point here and a termination point over here. So now we'll just come here and I'll click this. I'm going to consider my concrete cover. You can offset to get the right position. Okay, you can offset to get the right position. Okay, and we'll come over here, we'll say what? 140. We'll move down 140. I'll click over here. The same process what we have on the previous one. Click on this. We'll draw. We'll get 140. We'll say enter. Okay. Push it up. I'll take 1 meter. Okay. That's by the way. Now if I check this particular area, you can see that this particular area there will be a top reinforcement here. So it's very close. So I need to push it up to this point, and I'll take my 1 meter again. I'll take my 1 meter. So that is by the way. Okay, or if I don't want to take it, because if I take 1 meter over here and here, this is going to be what? Much smaller. So I'm going to take the span. I'm going to remeasure the span. So if we measure the span here and we'll come over here, over this point, we have we have 3 meters over here. So we'll do the same calculation by checking 25% of 3 meter. So 25% of 3 meter is a what? 750. Okay, we have 750. So you can consider providing 750 here, but at most let's just say 800. Okay, let's just say 800. Okay, let's just type 800 to be on the safe side. So say what? 800. So 800 is okay at this point, and the same thing here. We'll click here and we'll draw it down and we'll say 800. 800 is okay, super okay along that joint. So we'll have the same. We're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to cut it over here. So click here and we'll right click, we'll copy, we paste, we'll copy, we paste. So I'm going to repeat the same process. Okay, I'm going to repeat the same process along this joint. So the same thing here. Let's copy. Let's introduce it here, and let's introduce over here. Alright, I think that's all for now, exception of here. So over here, I'm going to introduce a line, and I'm going to click 140, and I'll drop it there. So about that, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this line, and I'm going to trim off this. Delete one, and I trim off that. Try to say that because I want this particular area, I want this to be top and the bottom. Okay, it's going to be top and it's going to be the bottom. Okay, it's going to be top and the bottom. So we're going to arrange it now. So we can see right here, well, we are done. I'm just have to forward you the video to finish all this connection on the vertical side. You can see what we've done, just like what we've done in the horizontal grid. I did the same in the vertical grid, you can see. So what I did here is just to get the full return, and I have to cross check it because you can see the termination point along this point. So this particular beam, this particular rebar is expected to run from this span down to this area and stop. Then this other one has to now continue, That's why you see the reinforcement over here. It has to continue down to this area because of what? Because of this void. Okay, and this reinforcement is what has a different pattern. Okay, because of the shape factor. All right, so you can see over here we have this other reinforcement running from where this beam is going to stop. From where this rebar is going to stop, we're just going to do it. It's just like a connection after the connection. From where this runs from this span down to this spot, this other rebar is going to take an end over here, and this other one is going to end this other one. So it's just like you can see the span line cutting it and the label across. Okay, so that's just by the because of what we have, the difference and the void, how the plan. So you can have different plans, so you just have to play with it. So you know that anywhere you have your void, you're going to have a return because that's the termination point, just like what we have along the perimeter edge. Okay, so that's the same thing. So here now, because I don't have enough length to create my return, I just have to put one. Then I'm going to detail this to be what? Top and bottom. So we have come to the end of the part 2. So at this part 1, before we go, we're going to look at the cantilever slab. Okay, so if you look at what we have here on the cantilever section, right, you can see I see a lot of people detail it this way, or they'll now begin to what to introduce a top rebar along this area. So what we need to do now, when you're designing the cantilever slab, what you need to do is you're going to take a particular mat. After matting it, you get to the edge. When you get to the edge along that main axis, because the factor you're supposed to you're looking at, we have the distribution, like we said earlier. We have the distribution, and we have the main rebar. So on the distribution line, that is the longer line. So when we have the shorter span, on that shorter span distance, we are going to what? We are going to take the reinforcement, returning it down back to the beam. Okay. So after this beam now, you can see what we did here. We return it. We take this reinforcement, this particular reinforcement, we take it down and we return it back to the beam. So from the beam now, we can now extend 1 meter. Okay. So if we extend 1 meter here, so this is how it is supposed to be. Then on this other part, this is the what, the distribution aspect. This is the longer part. So this one we just have to create a tie along it. So we don't need to do all of that. All right, we don't need to do all of that. Okay, okay, we just need to do all of that, okay, along this axis. All right, so on the part two we'll be looking at how we can fix the top rebar, and how we can do our section, how we can do our proper label, how we can adjust this label. So thanks and bye for now. See you at the part two.